Wars are not just fought with weapons, but with wits, and World War II proved that survival often depended on clever hacks more than firepower. Ordinary families, resistance fighters and soldiers alike had to learn to stretch every resource, defend their homes, and adapt to harsh shortages. Many of those methods are rarely spoken about today, yet they remain just as valuable for anyone who wants to be more self-reliant, prepared and resourceful. These aren't dusty relics of history. They're skills and strategies that can honestly transform the way you approach survival in your own backyard. Ordinary items were turned into alarms and defences. In wartime, homes were vulnerable to intrusion, whether from thieves or occupying forces. Families used tin cans strung on wires, bottles on windowsills and furniture barricades to create makeshift alarms and delays. These weren't designed to stop a trained soldier, but to buy time and alert households to danger. The same method works perfectly in a backyard setting. A simple setup with cans filled with gravel strung along a fence line makes noise if disturbed, alerting you to movement. In a world where technology can fail, these low-tech defenses still provide peace of mind. Camouflage was adapted to blend tools and shelters. German and Allied forces both excelled at camouflage, using mud, foliage and burlap to disguise not only uniforms but also gear, equipment and shelters. The lesson here was adaptability. What works in spring foliage won't work in winter snow, so the disguise had to evolve with the environment. For preppers and backyard survivalists, the same principle applies. A simple tarp can be altered with paint or natural materials from the surroundings, while tools or storage bins can be concealed under brush or cloth that matches the environment. It's inexpensive, quick, and honestly highly effective. Clever signaling replaced electricity and radios. In occupied towns and across resistance networks, people often couldn't rely on radios. Instead, they created subtle signaling systems, shutters partly closed in a window, laundry hung in a specific pattern, or even, the placement of household objects outside a home. These were prearranged codes that conveyed messages silently. A modern equivalent could be as simple as a mirror flash, a flashlight blink pattern, or, a prearranged marker in the yard to communicate without words or devices. In any grid-down or survival scenario, these hacks restore a layer of communication that doesn't rely on batteries or cell towers. Food was preserved with almost no equipment. Rationing forced innovation. Families buried root vegetables in sand to extend their shelf life, fermented cabbage into sauerkraut for nutrition, and sun-dried fruits and herbs to ensure nothing went to waste. These methods are still effective and don't require expensive tools. A wooden crate filled with sand in a cool garage can preserve carrots and potatoes for months. A simple line and hooks can be enough to dry herbs. And fermenting vegetables with just salt and water not only preserves them, but improves their nutrition. A trick as useful today as it was during wartime. Clothing was repaired and repurposed beyond recognition. Fabric was rationed, so garments were repaired endlessly, and when they could no longer be worn, they were turned into new items. Pillowcases became bags, old coats were cut into blankets, and scraps patched holes in uniforms. For backyard survivalists, the lesson is that nothing should go to waste. An old pair of jeans can be turned into tool pouches, aprons, or protective sleeves for working with thorny plants. Even worn-out shirts can be cut into bandages or cleaning rags. Extending the life of materials reduces dependence on outside supply chains. Earthworks and barriers provided protection and structure. From foxholes to sandbag walls, even civilians dug shallow trenches or piled earth to protect themselves and their homes. The principle was simple. A small barrier can make the difference between exposure and safety. In the backyard, similar techniques can shield gardens, protect water supplies, or reinforce storage sheds. Building a small berm or using stacked bags of soil along a fence line adds both privacy and a measure of protection against wind, flooding, or potential intrusion. Water was collected and stored with ingenuity. Wartime shortages forced people to capture and store every drop. Rainwater was funneled from rooftops into barrels, while bathtubs, buckets, and even old cookware became emergency storage. Soldiers learned to capture condensation or funnel runoff with improvised tin can contraptions. The lesson for today is straightforward. Water security is everything. A rain barrel connected to a gutter system, a few repurposed containers, and a habit of conserving can create a resilient supply. This is one of the simplest World War II hacks to adapt, yet one of the most critical for any prepper. Perhaps the most powerful hack of all was mindset. Civilians and soldiers alike had to remain calm, think quickly, and adapt to changing circumstances. Tools and supplies were always limited, but creativity was unlimited. That spirit of resilience, turning scarcity into opportunity, was the true secret weapon. For backyard preppers today, this means, well, practicing adaptability. Try going a weekend with limited electricity. Cook only with what's in your pantry, or repair rather than replace. Building this skill set prepares you for emergencies more than stockpiling ever could. The forgotten hacks of World War II prove that resourcefulness is timeless. From alarms made with tin cans and tripwires to food preservation, camouflage, and water collection, these methods remain just as effective today for anyone serious about preparedness. They cost little, rely on what you already have, and honestly they strengthen independence in a world where convenience has made us soft. If you found these lessons valuable and want to keep digging into the forgotten skills that once kept families and fighters alive, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share this video with others. History isn't just something to read, it's a toolbox waiting to be put to work in your own life.